Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin with a truth that is as old as time. The mind is the master. Before wealth is in the hands, it must be in the mind. Now listen closely, because this may be the moment that separates your old life from the one you are capable of living. The difference between the rich and the poor isn't in the bank account. It's not in opportunity, talent, or inheritance. It's in the mindset. A poor mindset says, "I can't afford that." A rich mindset asks, "How can I afford it?" One shuts the door. The other opens it. A poor mindset looks for problems. A rich mindset searches for possibilities. When a poor mind sees a challenge, it complains, but a rich mind sees that same challenge and gets excited, because inside every problem is the seed of profit. Now understand this. Rich is not a number. It is a state of thinking, a habit of belief. It is an attitude of expectancy. The poor mind waits for a lucky break. The rich mind builds the break brick by brick. The poor mind seeks comfort. The rich mind embraces growth even when it's uncomfortable, even when it hurts, because growth means stretching, and stretching means success. The poor mindset says, "That's not my job." The rich mindset says, "How can I serve? How can I lead?" Because wealth flows where value is delivered. The poor mind believes money is evil. The rich mind knows that money is a tool, a servant to a higher purpose. You see, poverty of the mind is not cured by charity. It is cured by education, by belief, by vision. Now you might say, "But I wasn't born rich." And I tell you, neither were most of the people who became rich. They were born with an idea, a spark, a hunger, and they fed it with discipline, imagination, and a refusal to quit. They failed, yes, they stumbled, of course, but every failure became a lesson, every defeat a doorway. They did not run from effort, they ran toward it, because the rich mindset knows temporary pain is the cost of permanent success. If you want to move from a poor mindset to a rich one, then change what you feed your mind, change what you tolerate, change what you expect from yourself. Start thinking in terms of creation, not consumption. Start seeing time as an asset, not something to kill. Start believing that your thoughts are seeds and they will grow into the life you plant with them. You are not your past. You are not your circumstances. You are the master of your fate, if you choose to be. So ask yourself today, which mindset do I carry? Which one do I want? And what am I willing to do to claim it? The door is open, but only you can walk through. Let us begin with the most vital principle you will ever hear about wealth, success, or fulfillment. Your outer world is a mirror of your inner world. The conditions you see in your life, your bank account, your health, your relationship, are nothing more than the reflections of your thinking, your habits, and the deep beliefs you carry in silence. You may be tempted to look at another man's riches and believe he possesses something you do not. You may see a successful woman building her empire and think she was born with better chances, but let me tell you this plainly, the greatest fortune any man or woman can possess is not money, it is the right mindset. For it is from that mindset that money, opportunity, vision, and action flow. A man with a poor mindset can be given $1 million, and he will find a way to lose it. He will make poor decisions, surround himself with the wrong people, and seek pleasure instead of purpose. That same man, if given another chance, will repeat the cycle, because the world outside has changed, but the world within him remains the same. On the other hand, a man with a rich mindset, disciplined, focused, resilient, can be stripped of everything, sent back to zero, and still build his fortune again. Why? Because he understands the true source of wealth is not the money itself, but the ability to create it. The world is filled with examples of men who started with nothing, no education, no inheritance, no contacts, and yet, by force of thought, by faith in themselves, they changed their reality. They saw something in their minds before they ever saw it in their hands. Thoughts, when combined with belief and action, become things. This is not mere inspiration. This is the law of life. The poor mindset is rooted in fear. It says, "This is all I've got," and it clings to the familiar even when the familiar is failure. It believes that success belongs to others, the lucky, the born, rich, the chosen few. It says, I can't, before it even tries. The rich mindset is rooted in vision. It says, I will find a way. It trains the mind to see opportunity where others see danger. It sees time as a seed, not something to waste. It says, I will learn, I will grow, I will rise. And this mindset does not come by accident. It must be chosen. It must be built day by day with the tools of self, discipline, clarity, and desire. If you allow fear, doubt, and envy to dominate your thinking, you will find your world shrinking, your courage fading, your progress halting. But if you fill your mind with determination, vision, and faith in your ability to learn, then the world will begin to respond. Doors will open, people will appear, circumstances will shift. You do not need to chase money. You need to become the kind of person to whom money flows naturally, and that journey begins in the mind. Some will scoff at this idea. Let them. The poor mindset laughs at things it does not understand. It waits for proof before it believes, but the rich mindset knows. Belief comes first. Action follows. Results arrive after faith is exercised, not before. You have been given the greatest power in existence, the ability to control your own thoughts. This is the engine of all achievement. Do not waste it. Begin now to study your thinking. Ask yourself, do I think like someone who is building something great, or do I think like someone just trying to survive? Am I guided by purpose or distracted by comfort? Do I see obstacles as walls or as tests I was born to pass? You are not stuck where you are because of luck. You are here because of how you have been thinking, and you can change it, starting this very moment. Wealth is not a gift, it is a consequence. Success is not given, it is earned. First in the mind, then in the world. So decide today. Will you think in limitation, or will you think in abundance? Will you speak fear, or will you speak vision? Because you cannot live a rich life with a poor mind, and the moment you change your mind, your world begins to change with it. There is a subtle difference between the man who succeeds and the man who fails, and it lies in the questions he asks himself every single day. A man's questions are the compass of his destiny. They shape his thoughts, direct his actions, and ultimately determine the results he will or will not create. Now observe this closely. When a poor-minded man faces a challenge, his first instinct is to say, can I afford this? And often the answer that springs up is, no, I cannot. And with that, the door is shut. The mind stops working, no new ideas arise, no creative energy flows. His own question has become a cage. But the rich-minded man faces the same challenge and asks, how can I afford this? Do you see the difference? One question surrenders to defeat, the other ignites possibility. This difference may seem small, but it is everything. You must understand that your mind is a living machine, one that responds exactly to the quality of the questions you feed it. When you ask small, fear-based questions, your mind gives you small, limited answers. But when you ask expansive, empowering questions, your mind opens wide like a river gate, rushing with new ideas, new paths, new strength. The man who asks, why does this always happen to me, will receive an answer, but it will lead him nowhere. It will reinforce blame, powerlessness, and self-pity. But the man who asks, what can I learn from this? What strength is being forged in me right now? He is walking the path of power. He is using the storm to strengthen his sail. The poor mindset wants quick answers. The rich mindset seeks better questions, because questions are the source of vision. The man who asks, what problem can I solve for others, becomes valuable. The man who asks, what gift have I been given and how can I multiply it, becomes a leader. The man who asks, who must I become to earn what I desire, begins to transform. There is no advancement without better questions. There is no breakthrough without deeper inquiry, and I will tell you something most men never learn. You can ask your way to success. Yes, ask your way, ask of yourself, ask of others, ask of life. The universe does not respond to silence. It responds to determined, persistent, burning inquiry. Do not be the man who says, I guess this is just how it is. No, it is not just how it is how you believe it is, and beliefs are built on the questions you repeat. Let me give you this practical truth. When you ask how, your mind gets to work. When you ask when, you begin to move with urgency. When you ask why not me, you break the illusion of inferiority. And when you ask what must I do to earn this, you begin to walk the path of responsibility and mastery. Now hear me clearly. The poor mindset waits for the right answer to arrive from the outside. The rich mindset trains the mind to seek it from within, because the moment you change the question, you change the quality of your thinking. And when your thinking improves, so do your actions. When your actions improve, your results cannot help but follow. It is not enough to work hard. You must think wisely, and wisdom is born through intentional questioning. You must ask every day, what am I doing with my time? Who am I becoming through this struggle? Am I choosing excuses, or am I choosing excellence? Am I feeding my fears, or am I fueling my vision? Let your questions be bold. Let them disturb your comfort. Let them push you to create, to climb, to become. Ask until the truth is revealed. Ask until the path appears. Ask until you become the kind of person who no longer needs to ask, because he has become the answer. Remember this always. You are never stuck. You are never without a way. You are only one powerful question away from a brand new future. Every great life, every towering success, every enduring legacy has been forged not in times of ease, but in the furnace of adversity. It is not what happens to you that defines your future. It is how you respond to it. The man with a poor mindset sees a problem and says, why me? He sees a wall and turns back. He meets resistance and immediately begins to doubt. His belief is weak, his will is soft, and so he folds, long before life demands real sacrifice. But the man with a rich mindset sees that same problem and whispers, this is my test. He knows the obstacle has not appeared to stop him, but to shape him, to strip away weakness, to awaken strength, to prepare him for a greater life than he could have ever known in comfort. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Ease is the sedative that puts dreams to sleep. And the poor mind craves both, but the rich mind is not afraid of the storm. He is not afraid of the mountain. He is not afraid to fall, because he knows that pain is part of progress, and discomfort is the currency of change. Now listen carefully. Growth only comes through friction. The seed must break before it can grow. The muscle must tear before it can strengthen. The soul must be challenged before it can evolve. There is no shortcut to greatness, no elevator to the top. You must climb, and climbing is hard, but that difficulty is your advantage. Most men will not endure it. Most will look at the price of success and retreat. They will say, this is too much, and walk away. They will live small lives, not because they lacked talent, but because they lacked the courage to face the struggle. The rich mindset sees the struggle and says, this is where I separate myself. He leans in while others lean out. He keeps moving while others wait for the path to be easy. Understand this. Adversity is a gift in disguise. It reveals what is real. It shows you who you are. It removes the false, the fragile, the fake, and leaves behind only what is strong. You cannot pretend your way through pain. You cannot fake your way through fire. Only truth survives there. So if you are in the middle of a storm, take heart. Do not curse the hardship. Use it. Do not run from the pressure. Let it make you precise. Because life will always test you before it rewards you, and it is not trying to destroy you. It is trying to see what you're made of. The poor mindset says, I'll move forward when things get easier, but that day never comes. The rich mindset says, I'll become stronger until things no longer break me, and that is the key. You do not need the path to be smooth. You need to become sharp. You do not need the conditions to be fair. You need to become unshakable, so do not despise your challenges, do not waste your pain, do not hide from what life has placed before you. The trial you are facing now, whether financial, emotional, or personal, is your training ground. It is the fire that forges character, and character is the foundation of all lasting success. Ask yourself this: will I retreat when tested, or will I rise? Will I allow difficulty to define me, or will I define myself through difficulty? Every challenge comes with two choices: collapse or conquer, shrink or grow, complain or climb, and the one you choose today will determine the life you live tomorrow. You were not born to be fragile. You were not meant to be comfortable. You were created to become more, and you do that by meeting your challenges head on. So stand tall, face your obstacles with courage, and remember, the richest reward is not found at the end of the journey. It is found in who you become through the journey. One of the greatest illusions that traps the average man is the pursuit of comfort. He believes if he can just find a way to avoid pain, to escape risk, to stay safe and undisturbed, he will somehow find happiness. But comfort is not the road to greatness. Comfort is the cage. The poor mindset worships ease. It chooses pleasure over purpose, entertainment over education, short-term gain over long-term reward. It asks, what's the fastest way? What's the easiest path? What can I get without giving much? But let it be known, no man has ever built an empire, a legacy, or a life of meaning by chasing what is easy. The rich mindset seeks value. It asks, what can I create? Whose life can I improve? What skill must I master to serve at the highest level? You see, the wealthy mind knows a secret the poor mind never learns. Value is the true source of wealth. Money is a shadow. It follows value. You cannot chase the shadow. You must focus on the source. A man who creates no value for others, who solves no problems, who improves no lives, he may be busy, but he will not be wealthy. He may look successful for a time, but his foundation will crumble, because true wealth is not rooted in appearance, it is rooted in contribution. The poor mind resists this truth. It wants the reward without the responsibility. It says, I deserve more, but it refuses to become more. It says, they should pay me better, but it never asks, how can I deliver 10 times the value? Understand this, the world does not pay you for your need. It pays you for your service. It does not care about your dreams until your dreams begin to serve others. So if you want to rise, if you want to step into a higher income, a greater life, and lasting fulfillment, you must abandon the addiction to comfort and embrace the call to create value. This means doing the hard thing when others avoid it. It means showing up early, staying late, working when no one is watching. It means becoming so good, so skilled, so trusted, that people feel lucky to work with you. It means studying not just what makes you feel good, but what makes others better, because that is the difference between a consumer and a creator. The poor mindset consumes and complains. The rich mindset creates and contributes. Now, hear this closely. Comfort zones are silent killers. They don't announce their destruction. They don't shake you awake. They lull you. They numb you. They whisper, this is enough, when deep down you know you were made for more. And the longer you stay there, the harder it becomes to move. You lose your edge, you forget your hunger, you shrink without even realizing it. But when you pursue value over comfort, when you choose discipline over distraction, you become unstoppable. Because discipline does not make life harder. Discipline makes life greater, and comfort does not make life better. Comfort makes life smaller. You were not created to coast, you were created to climb. You were not built for ease, you were built for excellence, and excellence only comes through sacrifice, sacrificing the temporary feeling of comfort for the permanent gain of purpose. So ask yourself, where in your life have you settled for comfort? Where have you avoided discomfort, even though it was the exact doorway to your growth? Where have you chosen ease, knowing full well it was robbing you of your potential? Do not wait for the world to push you. Push yourself. Do not wait for perfect timing. Move now. Imperfectly, boldly, consistently. You don't need to be the smartest, the richest, or the most talented. You simply need to deliver more value than anyone expects. You must care, outserve, and outlast those who are merely chasing the quick win, and when you do that, when you live to give, to grow, to contribute, you will find that wealth, respect, fulfillment, and freedom begin to chase you. Because the rich life is not built on comfort, it is built on value. There is a line, a sharp, invisible line, that separates those who rise from those who remain, and that line is called responsibility. Not the kind forced upon you by others, not the kind written into job descriptions or contracts. No, I speak of the kind of responsibility that a man chooses to take, the kind that says, I am responsible for my life, my results, my future, no one else. Now the poor mind refuses this. It avoids it like fire. It says, it's not my fault. It's the system, it's my upbringing, it's the economy, it's the government, it's my parents, it's bad luck. And while those excuses may feel justified, they strip the man of his power, for every time he blames, he hands over the pen that writes his story, and he waits, helplessly, for someone else to change the ending. But the rich mind does something different. Even when things go wrong, even when life is unfair, even when circumstances are stacked against him, he still looks in the mirror and says, what part of this do I own? Because he knows the one who accepts responsibility gains the authority to change things. Let me tell you a truth few are willing to face. Blame feels good in the moment, but it builds nothing. Responsibility may feel heavy at first, but it builds empires. Blame is reactive. It keeps you stuck. It trains your mind to look outward. Responsibility is proactive. It unlocks creativity. It forces the mind to look inward and upward. The poor mindset hides behind blame because it avoids pain. But the rich mindset embraces responsibility because it craves power. And not power over others, power over self. Because the man who cannot govern himself, who cannot direct his own thoughts, choices, and actions, will forever be a servant to the world. But the man who owns his life becomes the master of his fate. Understand this well. You cannot control everything that happens to you, but you can always control what happens within you. Your thoughts, your attitude, your response. These are your kingdom, and no one can invade them unless you let them. The poor man sees himself as a victim, and as a victim he becomes blind to opportunity. He becomes addicted to sympathy. He tells his story over and over again, not to grow from it, but to excuse his lack of action. But the man of strength and purpose doesn't tell stories, he builds them. He doesn't dwell on how life has hurt him. He focuses on how he can turn that pain into power, that setback into strategy, that failure into fuel. Responsibility says, if it is to be, it is up to me. It does not wait, it does not wish, it works. If you want to transform your life, start here. Take full ownership of your finances, of your time, of your decisions, of your habits, of your associations, of your results. Whether good or bad, do not speak like the world owes you anything. The world owes you nothing, but you owe yourself everything. You owe yourself the truth. You owe yourself discipline. You owe yourself a life that reflects your highest potential. So take back your power. Stop pointing fingers. Stop blaming the past. Stop waiting for someone to rescue you. No one is coming, and that is the best news you'll ever hear, because it means you don't have to wait. You are free to rise now, to make new decisions, to take new actions, to write a new chapter. Blame keeps you blind. Responsibility restores your vision. It opens your eyes to the truth that you always had a choice. You just didn't know how much was possible until now. So from this moment forward, let no excuse leave your mouth. Let no blame take root in your thinking. Hold yourself to a higher standard, not for approval, not for applause, but because you can, because you were not made to crawl through life complaining. You were born to rise with purpose, to lead with strength, and to live with honor. And the path to all of it begins with responsibility. There are two kinds of minds in this world, one that sees limitation and one that sees potential, one that says, I've arrived, and one that says, I am always becoming, one that fears change and one that feeds on it. The poor mindset clings to what is, it settles, it resists challenge, it declares, this is just who I am. It hides behind labels and fixed beliefs, and in doing so, it locks itself in a prison, one built not by the world, but by the individual's own refusal to grow. But the rich mindset is different. It knows that no man is ever finished, that no mind is ever full, and no soul ever stops expanding, unless he chooses to. It says, I can learn, I can evolve, I can rise again and again and again. You see, the tragedy of the fixed mind is that it mistakes comfort for mastery. It believes because it has done something once, it has done all it can, it stops reading, it stops studying, it stops reaching. And so it begins to decay, but the man with a growth mentality knows that the moment you stop learning, you start dying. The poor mindset views feedback as criticism, it takes correction as insult, it is fragile and defensive, always protecting an identity built on fragile ground. The rich mindset, however, welcomes feedback as fuel. It does not fear being wrong, it fears staying wrong. It does not get offended when shown a better way. It says, thank you, because it values truth over ego. Now understand this, your brain is not a fixed structure. It is a living instrument. Just like a muscle, it grows stronger with use, sharper with pressure, more efficient with repetition. But like any muscle, if it is not used, it atrophies. It weakens, it slows. That is why the rich mindset seeks challenge. It studies new ideas. It surrounds itself with people who stretch it, not flatter it. It welcomes discomfort not for punishment, but for progress. The man with a poor mindset says, I'm not good at that, and leaves it there. The man with a rich mindset says, I'm not good at that, yet. And that single word, yet, makes all the difference, for it means the journey is not over. It means the doors are not closed. It means the mind is still open, still hungry, still climbing. Now let me warn you, the world is full of people who will try to pull you back into small thinking. They'll say, why are you working so hard? Why are you always learning? Who do you think you are to aim so high? But you must not let their limitations become your standard. They are not your measuring stick. They are only mirrors of what happens when a mind gives up on becoming more. You were not designed to plateau. You were not born to stay the same. You were meant to grow spiritually, mentally, financially, emotionally. Every season, every trial, every win, every loss, it was all meant to shape you into something greater. And let me remind you, you are not competing with others. You are competing with your own potential. Every day you either move closer to who you were meant to become, or further from it. So if you've failed before, good. That means you tried, but don't stay there. The poor mindset looks at failure and says, this proves I'm not enough. The rich mindset says, this proves I must grow stronger. One mindset runs from the lesson. The other extracts the wisdom, and this is how the gap widens. Not by talent, not by luck, not by inheritance, but by how each man chooses to respond to growth. So ask yourself today, am I stretching? Am I learning? Am I becoming more dangerous in thought, more effective in action, more precise in vision, or have I become stale? Soft, stagnant, you must decide, because every thought you think either expands your world or shrinks it. Every belief you hold either fuels your growth or freezes your progress, and the man who grows will always rise above the man who refuses to. You do not need more time, you need more intention. You do not need a better background. You need a better mindset, so keep growing, keep challenging, keep becoming, because the richest life is not given, it is grown from within.